You are looking live at the Russia unit test, chapter 15, 16, 17, things that we've talked about that you've already had a couple weeks to look over and hear via stamp sheets or quizzes or both. Here's the test. You're looking at the test. I'm giving you the review off the test. So if you don't watch this, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you do, you should know the exact answers and it should be a perfect score for you. So, without further ado, let's get it started. Number one, why is Siberia becoming valuable to the Russians? Well, it's becoming valuable because of the abundant natural resources, and now they have the capability to pull them out of the ground. Not as many as they'd like to, obviously, but they still have that ability. And once you start pulling resources out of the ground, money starts rolling in. Number two, how did geography and location contribute to the climate of Siberia? Well, Siberia is a humongous piece of land. It's flat. It's up in the Arctic Circle, and there are no barriers to the north between them and the Arctic Ocean. So all that freezing wind coming down off the North Pole, nothing stops it. It just flows right in. There's mountains to the west. There's mountains to the east, mountains to the south. So all this cold wind just comes in there, hits those mountains, and can continue to circulate, making it a very cold place. Number three, what is most responsible for the population increase of Siberia? Well, that would be the Trans-Siberian Railroad, right? They built the railroad. People can start going ahead in that direction and settling. Number four, why does the culture of Transcaucasia differ considerably from Russia and the European republics? Very simple. We've talked about this. It's a crossroad between Europe and Asia. Okay, a lot of people have come there via trade and has settled, and because of that, there's many different languages, many different cultural influences, religions, things of that nature. So that's what makes Transcaucasia different from the rest of Russia. Number five, which statement best describes the command economy? Remember, command, the government decides everything. They decide price, they decide how much you're going to produce, what you're going to produce, things like that. Number six, Siberia has many natural resources which have not been utilized. All of the following are probably reasons for this, except. Okay, we're looking for the one that's not a reason. The answer, elevation. Elevation is the answer to six. Number seven, what is an economic impact of the Trans-Siberian Railroad on Siberia? So what's the economic impact of the Trans-Siberian Railroad on Siberia? The answer goes with the one above. The reason why Siberia has been somewhat settled, at least in parts, while population has increased a little bit and while natural resources are coming out of the ground is because of the railroad. Okay, so this is the last one. It allowed people to reach the remote region and exploit natural resources. Number eight, which of the following factors had little influence on the placement of borders that divide the nations of the region? The answer to this, physical features of the land. Even though some places it does have a big impact on the borders in this particular area. Ethnic divisions, history of the region, and treaties kind of help the borders, where they're going to be, things like that. Physical features doesn't have as big of influence as it does in other places. Number nine, where in the former Soviet Union did accident involve? Oh my gosh, that's terrible typing. I have to go back and edit it. Nuclear energy meltdown. Okay, nuclear plant meltdown. The answer is Chernobyl. Chernobyl. Number 10, history of Russia goes like this. That'll be the first one. Vikings, then the Mongols, a monarchy. That's when we get to the czars. We talk about the czars, rule the czars, then the communists, and then we get to a more leaning towards democracy. And they've almost, nowadays, 2014, 2015, we've kind of started to roll them back, and that democracy is becoming a little more limited daily. Number 11, who was the first czar of Russia? The answer, Ivan IV. Number 12, Russia spans how many continents? That would be 2, Asia and Europe. 13, the blank lies between the Caspian Sea and the mountains of Central Asia. Where are we at? Okay, number 13. Taran Plain. 14. The Aral Sea has lost blank percent of its water since the 1960s. The answer will be 80% down here. Capital of Russia, Moscow. Part of Russia that lies on the Asian continent, that would be Siberia. Lake blank is the deepest lake in the world. We're talking Lake Baikal. 18. What does the whispering of the stars mean? And it means it's so cold that when you talk, your breath freezes and falls to the ground. 19. What was built that connected East and West Russia? We've already talked about this numerous times, so it's very important. Obviously, the Trans-Siberian Railroad. And number 20, what mountains form the boundary between Asia and Europe? We've talked about this numerous times. The answer is the Ural Mountains. If you study this review, you should be fine to make a 100. This is a test to see who actually looks at it. Thank you and good night.